number 95. We're fashionably late, and seems like Dexter's having his normal breakdown. Here we go.
I'm coming back.
That happened pretty quick.
Hey! Jesus.
I'm your host, Carrie, finally upstairs Kreitz. We have Tim T. Swift Wiseman, Dexter Frozen in Time Wiseman, and Daryl No Hat Ever Bradley.
Never.
Never ever.
I'm going to hold up, man. I'm going to hold up for the team. Right.
You wore it once, but you'll never do it again.
Yeah, not now. Somebody's got to help the team, you know? I'm here for you guys.
We got to get you a visor.
Yes, maybe.
That way, it's a hat, and you can still support the flow.
Yeah,
I feel like Ian Poulterish or what?
Yeah. Yeah.
You're at that age where it becomes acceptable, right? You know, almost into your seniors.
Are you saying that visors are only acceptable for old people? I want to know if are visors acceptable all throughout? Yeah.
Yeah, my mom wears it. Wears it. She won't wear a hat, but she'll wear a visor.
Have you ever seen the Instagram entitled Housewife?
No. Is that Tim?
If you want to go
Tim, the entitled housewife. I like it.
Yeah. No, but the Instagram entitled Housewife is hilarious, and she wears a visor, and it's pretty funny. Like tweet, mother, that's a birdie. Right, it's pretty funny.
If we come out with 5-pin U visors, we got to come out with 5-pin U fanny packs too, though.
Yes, 5-pin U fanny packs. I think Tim would definitely rock 5-pin U fanny pack for sure.
Guaranteed.
Yeah, for sure.
You can carry around all the snacks.
Yeah. Miles give me a sleeveless shirt and rock with my dad bod. I mean, that's perfect.
Carrie, though, welcome upstairs, man. Like, this is a big moment for you. How's this, like, yeah. No jerseys in the background? What's going on here?
I know. I'm disappointing the 90 straight episodes of jerseys in the background that really nobody gets the context to. But, upstairs finally. I got a little bit of sunlight shining in.
Is that the Harry Potter collection behind you? Is that what I see on your back shelf? Is that what's there?
No, that is. I do not own a Harry Potter book.
You look like you would love Hogwarts. I'm confused.
Shut your trap.
Let's take guesses. What series of books is Carrie reading behind you?
Those are Julie's for sure. I guarantee.
They're mine.
Oh wow.
Oh no.
Loser.
Oh, why? Because he reads?
Yeah.
Wow.
I look at picture books.
You just singled out like 6.5 billion of the 7 billion people in the world. Nice.
Hey, you guys singled me out on fanny packs. It's only fair, man. Hey, well, singling out people. I mean, let's have a shout out for those people that picked out the right master winner last weekend.
Yeah, shout out to
no one.
Not a single person.
Yeah. Nobody picked Becky.
You know, I do have to say that I was watching it on Sunday, and Cindy did say, if I knew that he was playing, I would have chosen my fellow Asian in order to win. I would have picked him, and I said, Cindy, you didn't even know that he played. Like you didn't even know that was happening.
Somebody should have guessed him though. He's been close a few times. He's been there a dozen times. I think it's been now. Like
he was low amateur the first year he played there too, right?
2010 or 11 or something like that. He's really solid though.
Yeah.
Cutting it pretty close there at the end. Kind of fell a few strokes, getting close to Adam Sandler's caddy
after 15. Yeah, that's Xander on 16. Yeah, exactly. On 16, Xander dunked it.
Yeah, that shot from Scheifele. Yeah, but then and then his shot into the sand going into on 18 there, and just made it a little bit interesting. But that's good. We need some drama, right? We need some drama.
I've got a bowling-related comparison to who Will Zalatoris might be like.
Ooh.
Okay.
Tyson Nelson.
Oh.
Played in the TPC finals just recently.
Disagree.
Dexter?
No.
Well, Jordan, Jordan shoes.
Do you know what?
There you go. Little mannerisms. I'll tell you. Yeah. There you go. There's my guess. For my my.
It's a tiger, people.
Is that Hobbs though? Is that Hobbs?
It should be.
Yeah.
I don't believe it is, but they got off the rails early here. Yeah, Jeff, still no hats, and that's his nickname.
Yeah. Welcome to the show, Adam.
I feel like we're gonna have a throwdown.
Yeah, Cannon, we always start at 7 o'clock prompt every week. Welcome to the show, bud.
So Manitoba is obviously running their drop-in COVID event, and Derek Oren threw a 418. What was his triple, though? Was it any good?
That's an excellent question.
Well, the
Let
tour.
us know, Brett. Tell us, Brett.
The tour did bring out Derek Oren has big highs and lows last week too, right? So hopefully broke 900.
Yeah, so there's an interesting topic. WCBT posted that after our discussion last week, what lowest people came back to make the cuts. There was a 155, I think, came back, and then obviously Taylor Michelle's big one was 166 to, I think he qualified 6th overall.
Yeah, well, shooting like 2350.
Yeah. Goes to show you any score is recoverable. It's just how well you play after, or if that's the way you finish, that's not so bad. But
yeah,
only one of them. You can only have the one, game that low. And I also noticed from that list there wasn't anything that was 120s or 130s. I mean, that's getting really bad and really low. You probably shouldn't be playing if you're shooting a 120, but. A 155, a 165, every tournament seems to be one person will recover from it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
So.
Well, that's one thing to look at too. Is even if you punch a bunch or leave a lot of splits, you should get the 150. Like pick up your wood, stuff like that, right? 150's without a mark, so if you can't get the 150, that might not be the tournament for you.
Yeah, and if you are punching lots in the start of that tournament, and it is the start of the tournament, don't get frustrated. Use that time to figure something out and learn, and then move on.
Awesome. Well, good discussion. So we are giving away another All-Star prize for our weekly sponsor, and here's something that 5-Pin Universe is going to throw in, since we didn't give away anything last week, since you guys are horrible pickers of winners. We are going to give away something for if you sat as a chair on a tournament. It doesn't matter what type of tournament or what age group or anything like that. If you sat on a chair or sat on the board for a tournament, please put the tournament name in the chat with your name, and we'll add you to a list, and we'll do a draw from 5-Pin Universe.
Yeah, so if you were the chairperson for a provincial event or a chairperson for a national event, IP, U Challenge, Masters, even if it was the family twosome way back in 1984 something, who knows? But yeah, if you were a chairperson for any tournament, 5-Pin bowling tournament, put your name in the comments. Well, not your name. Just comment what event it was, and that will be entered into the draw for tonight. So that's sort of an honor tonight of our guest coming up, and we'll have some good chat about some of the events that he's hosted.
Can it be a COVID event, Daryl?
Sure. 5-Pin bowling COVID event.
Sounds good to me. Once again, you can become a sponsor of ours for the podcast through our Patreon at patreon.com/5pinuniverse. Everybody on there can be as little as $2 a month and help support us do this podcast every week, and gives you some discount codes towards our merchandise at store.5pinuniverse.ca, and you might get some early access to some of our content. We're going to start ramping up some new content coming up here in the near future. So Without further ado, we have our sponsor of the week, All Star Bowling Sales. And we'll run the commercial and we'll bring our special guest of the week. Oh, I did it again. So our special guest of the week hails from a little island on the east coast, almost as far away as you can get from Alberta, from Prince Edward Island, Mr. Allan Clark.
Good evening, everyone.
Hey, buddy,
Hey,
welcome
Allan.
aboard.
Thanks.
The lag isn't too bad all the way from out east.
Yeah. 2 months ago it wouldn't have happened. That was on dial-up almost.
You know what? Guaranteed it's still better than Carrie's.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, mine's holding pretty solid together here too.
Yeah.
But
It isn't
I'm very
freezing.
proud of you.
Yeah.
Very proud of you. Len and Seth, I'm really disappointed that your tournament didn't go off. Your World Bowling Championships with 78 shifts sounds like that would have been a fantastic tournament.
Yeah.
Allan, did you like our competition for tonight? Our little giveaway? What that's regarding?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I was thinking I know a few people that should be entering that.
Yeah, a few people. It's an honor of you, and we've all of us have hosted tournaments over the years.
Yeah.
You know, should see some good things out there. We want to see more. I mean, I appreciate the smaller events, but let's be real. Any big events that you put on for the C5 or the Masters or big cash tournament, let's see some of those bigger ones and recognize some of those people that put the work in.
Yeah, there's a lot of work involved for sure.
See this shirt there, Allan?
Cool. Whose is that?
It was it's Trey's. You gave it to Mark Johnstone for something.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
And so he brought it into the office today, and he said, "Oh, I do have something of Al's." And so he brought me this. I'm like, "Oh, give it to me. I'll put it on tonight for the podcast."
Wasn't fitting.
No, it's a feed ladies large, and let's just say it was pretty form fitting. So
Yeah.
it didn't be behind me for tonight. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
I was going to throw mine on, and I thought, nah, better not. Mine might be getting a little tight, too.
I was gonna ask for the same reason.
COVID hasn't been friendly to anybody.
Yeah.
No.
How's
less excuse here.
Yeah, how's life been out there for you guys with everything going on?
Considerably better than the rest of the country. We've been pretty fortunate. I think right now we've got maybe 6 cases. Yeah. And I mean, no hospitalizations throughout the whole thing, no deaths. So yeah, very fortunate.
Yeah, it's really good to hear.
Yeah.
What are restrictions like out there for you guys?
It's pretty good. Like for sporting events, 50 people. Immediate, like if you're doing something in your household, it's I believe 10 members inside, 20 outside. It's certainly relaxed compared to the rest of the country.
That feels like a throwback to like when we reopened last summer. It's almost exactly what our restrictions were back then. And
Yeah.
And
And I mean, as far as centers here, it varies by the center. Like some want you to use every second lane, others are fine as long as your capacity is under 50 people.
How many
enough.
bowling centers are in PEI now?
Let's see, we've got 5. Yeah, 5. The 6th one is pretty much just it's a 6-lane center, and they're only using it for Special Olympics. I don't know if what the issue is. Charlottetown has 14 lanes, Summerside 8, Rustico 6, and then another 6 at the western end of the island, Alberton, and I believe it's 6 lanes in Tignish. Yeah. So yeah, not a lot of lanes, but yeah. We mostly use 4 out of the 6 centers.
Rustico and Summerside for sure.
Yeah,
Summerside
and
is the
Charlottetown
one
and Alberton.
Alan,
Yeah.
don't you have one in a church?
The one in Tignish is right behind the church.
Yeah.
It's a church-owned property, but it's in the building behind the church.
Yeah. So you guys use that one as well?
They use it for the YBC program.
Okay.
Yeah. I guess there's a couple of evening leagues in there as well, and I've been up there and talked to them, but it's, because they're 100 miles away, it's a little harder to get them involved. I mean, we actively go up to Alberton and participate in events up there when they are open. Unfortunately, they didn't open this year. But yeah, it's hard to get them involved in the 5-pin association just because of the distance. We've had some participation, but I'd like to see more.
What is travel like out there between centers? Like, what's the furthest you'd have to travel between centers to participate?
Well, we've likely got people that are traveling upwards of 50 miles to participate in a weekly league. Most people are likely within 25 miles of their center.
Okay.
Yeah.
Here in Alberta, we measure everything by time. So what does that time-wise?
Or kilometers.
Miles on a
I would say
winding road.
an hour one way.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's like very few people. Most of them are within like a 20 to 30 minute drive to a center. We do a league in Rustico, and it was to try and get the competitive bowlers bowling together at a Summerside in Charlottetown. It was an hour drive for us to go to Summerside or them to come to us. And we talked to Rustico, and Friday night was available there, where it wasn't available to the Charlottetown Center. I'm not sure if it was available in Summerside or not, but it was central to both groups, and it's worked out really well. Like a lot of the bowlers, like even the YBC bowlers that are going away to Youth Challenge and YBC events, they bowl with us. Yeah, so it's worked out well. It's a nice league.
So it's set up like a province-wide super league kind of idea?
More or less, yeah.
That's cool.
And we get great
really
participation. It's a 6-lane center, and we limit it to 30 bowlers just so that we can be out of there in a reasonable hour.
Yeah.
That's still 13. That's still a lot of bowlers.
Yeah, and it's a singles, like it's a scratch league, but it's singles. So you're playing head to head against your bowler. So I think throughout the course of the season, you'll play each of the 29 other participants 3 times. And it's a cash league. We're actually going to wrap up in about 2 more weeks. Yeah.
It's crazy to hear a league running and wrapping itself up.
Yeah.
Can we live stream the finals or something like we're done?
Yeah,
I
totally.
would love to,
Get
but
some camera.
unfortunately,
Friday
Rustico, their data sucks.
Oh, I was gonna say I know a web developer that might be helpful, but I mean,
Yeah. We ran the provincials. We live streamed the finals of provincials at the center in Charlottetown, and surprisingly, it was a decent feed.
Right.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Like we tried to run it there for the IP, and it was just horrible. And I think what the problem was everybody was on the network, and it was just crapping it out.
Totally.
Who are some of those bowlers playing in that league, Alan? Some of the high end bowlers.
Oh my! Well, John Walsh is there. Albert Shepard. So let's see, Justin McRae, Trevor Main. Myself on the girls' side, we've got Valerie Kneebone, Veronica Cullicutt, Sherry Wedge. She's coming out of the YBC program, amazing bowler. Amy Spence, she just finished her last YBC round on the weekend, and I think it was her provincial event. She threw a 384. Yeah, it was. I know I left a bunch of people out, but Yeah.
Does Albert's brother James, does he play
James
too?
Bowles there as well. Yeah.
That guy has always made me laugh. When I first met him, he told me that he was the better looking brother, and like honestly, from that moment on, we became like great friends because I say the same thing.
Jesus.
Nice setup. Nice. I saw that one coming.
But yeah, no, that's an awesome family. They're super funny people. Do you find how long has that league been going on for you guys?
This is our third year, I believe. Yeah.
Do you find that that's like really been a big help to the community out there? Because I imagine that means A, you guys are competitive all the time, which has got to only improve you guys, right? And then B, when you guys go to tournaments and stuff, the camaraderie's got to be there because you guys are just so comfortable with each other too, right?
Or they're annoyed with each
I
other.
think for the most part it's there anyway. Like we're a pretty tight group. Like if there's something going on in Summerside, there's all kinds of support out of Charlottetown and vice versa. As far as Alberton is concerned, I mean, the vast majority of us know each other just through all the events that we host.
Right.
So yeah, as far as going away, I mean, it's very rare that there'll be any, squabbles or not knowing people and not knowing what to expect. So yeah, I mean, it's a great bunch.
That's awesome.
But you bring up a good point, Dexter, is that, a small community like that, having competitive on a weekly basis, you really get the practice of playing outside of that community than competitive because you're always, getting better and better and better because you're playing, in match play format.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
It's nice to have that.
I found it's worked best, I think, for the young ones that are in the program, or in that league. Like it's just phenomenal to watch these kids coming up. I just wish there was more of them.
Yeah. I also think that it would be super neat to play in a league like that in a little 6-lane center. I don't know. I think that would be super fun. I like the fact that all your centers are like little small centers. To me, it just feels so cozy and homey, and like, I think the environment would be just fantastic all the time.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's a family.
Yeah.
Friday night, I'm sure you've done a few pops together too. I mean, and you're 5 bowlers per lane, so you got 10 minutes before you're throwing a ball again. You got time to fill beer in there, don't you?
Yeah, there's a few that partake. Not a great deal. I mean, and mostly likely due to the fact that there's a bunch of kids bowling with us as well.
Sure.
That's right.
And you've got a 30-mile or 30-minute drive back home or 40 minutes back home.
Right.
Yeah. It's not like it was years ago when I first started bowling in the leagues. Like the Murphy's Community Center in Charlotte was where I started, and the bar was frequented a lot more often there. But you were in Charlottetown, and people were only minutes away from home. And
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So where did bowling start for you? Back a couple of years ago. When did you start bowling? Early on, I know you've given us the bio. You took a bit of a break in there, but tell us about when you were. Yeah.
I did a couple of years of YBC in Hamilton, but in Charlottetown, my family was like the kids were pretty well all grown up by the time I get back into it. It's likely about, I'd have to guess, about 15 years now that I've been back into it. Albert Shepard was a neighbor of mine, and he often popped in, and he was selling tickets, I think, for a ride on the first time he mentioned bowling to me, and it's like, I might be interested in doing something like that. And anyway, we talked, and there was an opening on a Sunday night league. I joined that, and basically hooked back in, and within 2 weeks I was signed up into a second league, which was a cash league, and that was their more competitive league at that time. And unfortunately, within a few years, numbers just declined, and mostly because of older bowlers just getting away from it, and didn't feel like could be as competitive, I guess.
Yeah.
Or were too sore after the night was over.
Fair enough. So you had done a couple years of YBC, and I think you also said that you had bowled a couple of years when you went to PEI and then took a break after you had kids, or?
Did 1 year in high school, and it was likely grade 11, and yeah, I never really get in. I mean, I played the season. Couldn't tell you how well I bowled. Likely not well enough that it kept me there. But there was a lot of other stuff going on too when you're in high school. And if you'd grown up with it and come right through the YBC program, I think it would have been a different story. But it's like anything else. Once you get away from it, it's hard to get back to it.
Totally.
Yeah, that's my big concern with COVID now. Is although our doors are open and leagues are running, we've lost likely 20% of our bowlers, and I'm concerned that once they're away from it, it's going to be hard to get back.
Yeah, especially as somebody who spent so much time building the community and building membership and stuff out there. I can absolutely understand your concern, for sure.
Yeah.
I do want to say, though, the fact that you decided to become more involved and, really start to take the game seriously at whatever age that happened to be. It was much later than most people ever do, right? It's pretty remarkable what you've done and how successful you've been, and, how much you've grown in the game, and the amount of effort and work that you've put into the game outside of that, starting so late, that's really remarkable and appreciated for sure.
Yeah, it's certainly a team effort. I mean, I certainly wouldn't take credit for where we're at right now. There's certainly other people involved in it. I don't know what really got me to the point where I wanted to get involved. I had a cousin passed away a number of years ago, 38 years old, of a heart attack, and a buddy of mine suggested that we do a fundraising tournament, an annual memorial tournament. And once I started doing that for a few years, like I enjoyed the work, and I enjoyed the end result that we were able to raise. I think it was somewhere in the vicinity of $40,000 for different charities across the island.
Wow.
And the last few years of it, we started using that money to offset the PEI 5-pin contribution to Special Olympics through C5. And then that sort of started the ball rolling. Valerie approached me about, that she thought I'd be a good fit for president. Nina had or was in the process of moving to Nova Scotia, so we were in need of somebody. And by that time, I'd been bowling for a few years. I'd gone away to a couple of national events, and I didn't want to see that end. So, I followed her suggestion, and been at it since.
And then some, so your first C5 event was actually, we were talking about co-chairing and chairing things, was an event Daryl was chairing in Edmonton, the IP in 2011.
Okay.
So how was your first, I guess, experience at participating at your own nationals, or your first nationals?
My very first game, I went over the foul line twice and lost by about 13 pins.
Oh.
Yeah. So, after I split over the second time, I went up to the line, turned around, and did my approach the other way, and figured out where I should be starting. I don't know if the approaches were shorter out there or what, but yeah.
It's St. Albert. It was sticky.
Yeah. I wasn't sticking. It's about 6 inches over the line. Yeah, but it was a lot of fun. And then, within a couple of years after that, somebody got the bright idea that maybe we could host one. I shouldn't say somebody. Nina and Valerie decided that we should host one. Yeah.
Well, I think that was the perfect tournament, probably too, for PEI, because the number of players coming from each province isn't as much, and such a fun, tournament that IP was. right?
Yeah,
To do.
yeah, we had a blast. I mean, and we've got between Summerside and Charlottetown, we had enough lanes to accommodate it.
Yeah. The IP is an absolutely awesome event. My first IP, I coached two nationals in 2010, and it was I've been to a fair amount of C5 Open Nationals and YBC Nationals, Masters Nationals, and that IP Nationals was probably the most fun nationals I had, without question. And honestly, a large part of that came down to James and Nina and Val. We had some really interesting times on the lanes. That was the one nationals where it started with our team because we were doing this in our Sunday match play league where every strike in a row you would have to do something different. So for us, I think it started at like 4 in a row, and you had to like do the T-bow on the lanes, and then you had for 6 in a row you had to plank across the ball return and stuff like that. Well, we ended up starting to do that at nationals in 2010, and it was definitely PI that was heavily involved with that. But the entire tournament, we just ended up having like stupid things that you had to do for strikes in a row, and the whole tournament just turned into a giant shit show. And it was so funny. Like, it was probably the most enjoyable thing I've had at any event ever. So, yeah, that's when we became friends with Val and James, and it was a great time.
Yeah, they're a lot of fun.
Totally different environment from any other national.
Yeah,
for sure.
I coached a team too prior to me hosting, I'm pretty sure, and ended up, a couple of newbies playing out of Shore Park, and then some veterans playing, and went down to Hamilton for provincials because I never really did anything with the IP before, but they needed a coach, and I was like, I was on the board, start getting involved a little bit more, and put my name into coach, and sure enough, selected, and here we are off to nationals. We ended up winning nationals. And here's a gold medal for the IP Nationals, and it's so different because it's averages and it's POA, but it's not just the first two. You have to add them all up to 4. So the calculation, the math that was going on was quite extraordinary. And the level of bowlers, in all fairness, they're not your elite 250 average bowlers. They're 144s or 176s, and maybe an outlier at 212, but. The lineup matching was so unique of trying to play that, because you play a 135 or 140 average versus the 240. Super unique tournament.
Yeah, no, they're a lot of fun. I'm pretty sure it was today on a memory that showed up on Facebook. 10 years ago today, we were sitting in an airport in Montreal heading to Edmonton.
Nice.
Yeah.
That was a fun event, and hosting that, we talked about the chair and, the hotel we had. I think we did the Jersey night on the first night we were there. We picked everybody up at the airport too. Then, bust them out to St. Albert the whole weekend. And the party afterwards, got shut down early we had a really good party afterwards, but then I opened up the hospitality suite. And we stayed in there until 6 o'clock in the morning. And I remember Sheila Carr, we gave her the room right next door, and it was like we shut it down right down to the end. It was and then goodbye everybody, see you later. And everybody, the typical got to go home on the Sunday after nationals at 7 a.m. Right? Pack your stuff.
Saturday evening, we approached one of the bus drivers out there, and we all threw in $5. She took us out to the West Edmonton Mall, and the bunch was fun.
Yeah, we had that. Friday night we did West Ed. That's right.
Yeah. We get thrown out of a couple of stores in there. Long story.
we've got 2 hours. Let's
got people watching this.
I remember something about James too, going to a restaurant, and it was his birthday. And I remember, didn't they bring him cake or something? I don't know. There's nothing more going.
Yeah. Didn't hear that one. Well,
anyways, that was a good event. So.
Yeah.
How did you?
Outside of the IP, I think the most fun I've ever had at an event is we were able to. It was the same year as the last IP we hosted, 2017. Within a week of hosting that one, we hosted the National Special Olympics event.
Right.
That was a riot. Yeah, I've never had so much fun at a tournament, like organizing anything. Like, kids from ready to go kids and adults from one end of the country to the other. But yeah, it was a lot of fun.
I just ran into our special, should I call her this? Our Special Olympics director here in Sherry Park for bowling. I ran into her at Walmart, and honestly, she's an amazing person. But that's one of the hardest parts with COVID is not getting to see all those guys every week because they're so much fun, and it's just they just have like full grasp on life and just enjoy every second of it. And there's so many things that we're missing out on. But she was lucky enough to go to a nationals too. And was that in PI as well?
It was PI, yeah. Laura was there, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, one of the girls on that team, I found out a month after the event was over, was a good friend of my cousin's young fellow who lives out there. Man, small world.
Crazy. Yeah. So it was an absolutely fantastic experience. And I couldn't even imagine. I bet you it's just an absolute blast.
Yeah.
Just everybody just having so much fun.
Yeah. It was a laugh from the time the day started till it was over.
Yeah.
Allan, there was no dress code infractions or anything, was there?
I'm sure there wasn't. Yeah. They're a little more well organized than some of us.
True story.
That was pretty funny. We're going to get to that segment here. Let's talk about your C5 experience at the meeting there. You said in your bio, you sat on a C5 meeting and you were a little bit shy and didn't say a whole lot. But after about 90 minutes of conversation about dress code infractions, you finally realized, okay, people.
Yeah, it was at least 90 minutes, and trying to figure out fines and first fine, second fine, and third fine, and I just thought, oh my God, we're here like an hour and a half talking about this, and put a motion on the floor to keep the fines all the same, and discussion was over in about 5 minutes.
Save yourself a bit of time if you piped up there, bud. Hey.
Yeah.
So let's hear some comments. Anybody worst dress code infractions that you've ever had to endure? There we go. And also remember, we're doing the draw for later. If you've ever chaired a tournament, whether it was the Youth Challenge, IP, a national event, a cash event, any tournament, make sure you put your name in for that draw coming up. So if you've ever chaired an event, what event was it? Gotcha. So have you competed in other IP events since those? I know, obviously, 2011. Did you play in all the other?
I've entered a few times on the island, mostly as an executive with no intentions of going away, just to get another team on the lanes. I did try it last year, and it was a shit show. Actually, it was this year, and this year has been like horrible right from the first game. Like, I don't know, not into it. Anyway, it's starting to come around, but by the time our provincial IP ran, and it was a cash tournament as well, just to entice more people to bowl, because we were pretty sure that the IP wasn't going to be held nationally. I don't know. I don't seem to do well in team events, so I tend to shy away from them.
Oh, that's fair.
And I think it's, just I put too much pressure on myself, and, am I letting the team down type of thing? And it just doesn't work well for me. I tend to do better bowling singles.
But there's only one way to get better at that, and that's just exposing yourself to it, right?
Well, yeah, exactly.
But, I mean, you seem to do just fine at Open Nationals a couple of years ago. 2019, you looked really solid.
Yeah, no, I've been doing half decent at the Nationals, and I think a big part of it as well, as far as the IP is concerned, is I was never in the position that I could do both of them, and I'd prefer to do the Nationals over the IP.
Yep.
Sure.
Too much stuff on the go, and so up until this year, and maybe that's why I tried out this year. I knew I wasn't going anywhere, and it was a money event type of thing.
Yeah.
Prior to that, I would have just signed up for a team that was just there for bodies.
That's fair.
What the Open, though, you started playing in that, and now you've played in the last 8 or 9. What's the qualifying process in PEI for making the Open team?
Basically, we're one zone. So, yeah, we do 2 rounds of 10 games, or that's what we have been doing. This year, we went to 2 rounds of 8, and then a step ladder with your top 4 bowlers, or 5. Yeah, the top 5 bowlers.
And then they make the men's team.
Yeah,
Or-
yeah.
yeah.
Your high bowler after the your top 7 bowlers. Well, I guess it's your top 10. You've got your men's team, your mixed team, and then your singles. Singles is determined by the step ladder, and then your next 6 bowlers are your men's team, and then your mixed, and the same thing on the women's side.
So what's the team breakdown that you've played? Have they played mixed and men's?
I've always been on the men's team. 1 year, the first year actually, I tried out. I ended up breaking my ankle after the first round, and bowled the second round 2 weeks later with crutches and a cast on my left leg.
I actually recently saw a picture of that.
Yeah. managed to get 18 or 19 games in before I just gave up. And Albert McDonald had made the team. And Albert, like once by the time St. John's rolled around, he said, "No, you're going. Other than the leg, you would have qualified." And so, yeah, it was pretty nice of Albert to let me go in his place. So, because of him dropping out and the way it played out, I didn't go into the mixed team. I went straight up to the men's team. He must have been the 7th bowler. Outside of that, it's been the men's team every year. I qualified for the mixed team this year, but we weren't going anywhere. Again, it was a bad year.
You guys gave out nice towels, I think, or something like that. I saw for anybody who made a team.
Face masks, and what else did we do? We actually had a banquet this year. It's the first year we've ever done it. Well, since I've been involved, the first year we did a banquet, and yeah, medals. We gave bowling balls away to the men's and ladies singles.
So how many players would play in the PEI provincials?
On average, well, the last couple of years anyway, 33 to 35 in that range, and maybe 60-40 split men and ladies.
Now there's no zone round either, right?
No.
Yeah, so it's a
There used
one-time
to be.
event.
Yeah, there was a number of years ago, but it was prior to my joining the 5-Pin Association. There just wasn't enough interest, and I think the first couple of years I tried it, like they only sent the men's and ladies team and the singles. There was no mix, or no, it was the mixed team and the men's team and the singles. And it's only in the last 4 years we've had the numbers that we were able to send a ladies team.
So actually, that's a good segue, though. I guess a little bit, Allan. I guess you and your group have done a really good job of building up the PEI 5-Pin out there, Nina, and then pass it along to you, and it's just exponentially growing. The one thing I did come back from the first C5 meeting, I was like, man, PI has their ducks in a row. They really know what they're doing. They're innovative, and they have a bunch of things that we can take back to the Western provinces. But what changed, I guess, from the low numbers to the high numbers to your involvement, the overall involvement back in the sport for all your events and just in general. I know the one big thing we really probably want to touch base on is your membership increase and how your card has benefits to it. Maybe you can touch base on that.
So yeah, when I first started in the association, it had gotten to the point where the only people that were signing up for memberships were those that had intentions of participating in provincial events and or national events. So the numbers were really low. And I talked to quite a few bowlers in different leagues. I mean, I bowled in a couple and then participated in a few events. And the comment I heard more often than not was, "What's in it for me? I don't go to national events, don't participate in provincial events. I'm just down here for my league play." So I gave that some thought, and come up with the idea that when the card when it first came out, and I think it was on the card itself, the C5 card, there was some sort of discount through an insurance company, which no longer existed. And there was something else on there. I can't remember what it was right now. But anyway, I thought, well, why not approach local businesses and see if they'd be willing to offer discounts to our membership. And I think at that time our membership was likely 40 or 50 bowlers. Well, if you go into a business and say, I got 40 or 50 people that are, that we can bring into your business potentially, you're going to offer us can you offer us a discount? So I went in and exaggerated our numbers, basically told them how many bowlers there were on PEI, and this is how many people I can potentially bring into your business. And I told them like 500 or 600 people, or actually, no, I told them at that time it was 300 people that we could, those were our membership numbers, and they were all for it. Yeah, we'll give you, 10% off, 20% off, or whatever the case may be. Mm-hmm. And before long, there was a list of maybe 15 or so businesses that were offering discounts. And then when we printed that out, gave every bowler in every league a copy of these discounts that were available. And one of them was through the Murphy's Community Center, who owned the bowling alley. He also owns a chain of pharmacies on the island. And what they offered us was the cash equivalent of, or the points equivalent of so many dollars. And that basically, the first time they went into one of these pharmacies, it covered the cost of the card that we were selling them. So it wasn't costing them anything. And we went from this 300 that I anticipated to signing up every league across the island. And in doing that, we now qualified for provincial funding as a sport association. So we drove the numbers up. Now we're getting money from the province because, we've got numbers to justify it.
That's incredible. And honestly, I think having that conversation is huge because even though like you guys were only getting 50 members, I mean, realistically, all the other provinces are in the same boat. It's just that they just have a larger base to begin with, but it's the same answers. It's only the people that are looking at playing, IP or the Open that are getting these cards, unless you're in a center like Sherwood Park where we purchased the cards for everybody so that we could show membership numbers. There was one other center in Calgary that was the same. I don't know if they still are, but in Chinook, but
no, Mountain View, yeah.
Oh, Mountain View now, yeah. But I mean, outside of that, it's only the people that are participating in it. So this is a program that I think nationally should be something that every province should try to do, because no province is trying to do that right now. And whether that's C5, Bowl Canada, Bowl Alberta, Bowl whatever, Masters, no one's trying to do that. Well, WCBT tried to do it once, and we kind of let that slide a little. But I absolutely think that's a very valuable lesson.
I tried to do it at the C5 level without permission. So I called up some major corporations and approached them, and I had some interest as well. And I took this back to the C5 meeting. This might have been my first year or second year in the C5. And when I brought it up, I thought Sheila was going to have a stroke. Who are you to be calling?
But I guess
on behalf of C5. Yeah.
But that is allowed, right? There's nothing wrong.
Well, no, because I basically
and getting provincial partners or whatnot. There's nothing wrong with Alberta adding to value to the card, is there? I mean,
no, not provincially, but I was speaking on behalf of C5 when I shouldn't have been, and
So, I maybe not now is the time and the place, but has that conversation come up? Does C5 have a plan to do that? Do any of these larger corporations, Canada, Is that a plan? Is that a strategy? I mean, how do we build on that? It's a brilliant idea, and you obviously clearly had traction on it. You know, in your community. Why not elsewhere?
Yeah, I started the process of created a sponsorship package for the C5, and we had basically things to roll. By this time, I had been given permission to approach these businesses and started that process, and then COVID hits, and you're not going to approach Air Canada for sponsorship when their planes are sitting on the ground, or other companies that are going through what they're going through right now. So that's the intent is there, and I think it will be pursued. It's just a matter of waiting for the economy to take a bit of a
part of my time way back on the board of the C5 meetings was around that sponsorship as well, and any of the things we've done through WCBT. I love the conversation that's happening around sponsorship and adding value for membership for that, and that's a great way of doing that. So I'd like to pursue that further on who's taking that over on the C5, or what the game plan for rolling that out, and who they're targeting and who they're going to do, because it's definitely a program that should be looked at further.
Yeah. Great. Yeah.
I definitely think Allan's the prime example what to look for in that, right? I mean, I don't think there's any other province out there that does that. I know the insurance company was AIL, I believe, AIL, and then there was an issue with AIL because even though we canceled them, they were not supposed to call members, and they were calling members, and they're harassing people, and it was so that's why it was kind of stopgap. But there's things out in Alberta we can definitely look for and work for out in Alberta where we can. It's got to find the right people on the right, and you got to get the people to support it too, right? You can get all the sponsors out there. It's just a matter of them seeing their dividends back as the business, right? So
maybe is it a sponsor, or is it adding discount? I mean, even if you're just adding a 10% discount,
which is huge,
but it's just giving value to members. It doesn't always have to return into sponsor dollars. Maybe rebate to do that.
And the rebates is a huge thing, like 10% off or whatever it is, like that.
Yeah, that's what we did locally. And I mean, I talked to a few provinces after we had done this here, and we're at an advantage here in that you're fairly close to these businesses that you're going after sponsorship for. Where you take a local shoe store, for example, in Edmonton. I mean, how many of your bowlers are going to be around that particular store type of thing?
Yeah.
I think with a smaller community, it's easier to do that sort of stuff. You'd have to go after bigger companies out there. I'm not saying it couldn't be done, but yeah, it's.
But I definitely think that there's opportunity and appetite for a rebate program. My kids at school have a program with Cobb's bread and Save on Food, and as long as you submit the receipts, you get a 5% rebate, right? So once a month, they're sending the receipts into the stores and saying, "Here you go." Or each store has a different way of rebating it, but it drives a ton of traffic to Cobb's and to Save on Foods. Tons of traffic.
Yeah.
Right.
But I mean, even if they're just giving 10% off something, that really doesn't cost the business anything. It doesn't cost the membership anything. But I would much rather I would drive out of my way to go get 10% off Booster Juice rather than driving down the street to go to Orange Julius or something like that, right? And like those are all things that are, provincially maybe. You got to find the right person in the businesses to do it too. If it's gonna be a large enough business to be provincial.
Value. It can just be value for the member. Sometimes it doesn't always have to be a rebate, so that companies have to give back. We simply want to give more value to our members. So I like what you did there, Allan. I'm glad that somebody did that, and there's some historical precedent set by doing that. So hopefully you continue on that work, or somebody else is continuing on for you.
Yeah, well, thanks. Just give me 1 sec, guys. I'm going to go grab another cord here. This one doesn't seem to be charged my phone, and I don't think I hung up on you.
No worries. No worries. So
Yeah.
is Alan the reason why you always say just do it and ask for forgiveness later? Then because it sounds like that was his strategy. I like
No,
it
no,
though.
no.
As long as he's not committing anything to the C5, then I don't think acquiring is a problem at all.
No, actually, I didn't know Alan did that, but I'm actually quite impressed. So, uh, hopefully Net's not listening. But I just, I think sometimes you just have to go out there and try your best. I mean, like Daryl mentioned, whether like even the A5 cards or even the Masters of Alberta has something, maybe a value, like a discount, like a 10% discount here or whatever it is. People are not willing to maybe give out the cash value, but they may be willing to give a discount out,
Right.
especially during COVID. Or people are looking probably to give away products. Like you talk to a brewery, they're willing to give away beer, but they're not willing to give away cash, right? So there's ways around it out there. If you're looking at sponsorship, and there's ways you can manipulate it, but I think that card thing is a really good incentive, because even though my position where I am on the board, it's still a tough sell sometimes. Well, why do you want to buy a member? Well, okay, well, you're not participating in these events. Like, it's a tough sell, right? And sometimes,
Totally.
right? And that's
What,
a prime example.
You had mentioned earlier something about WCBT. We sort of tried this. Is this the brew house? Or maybe we don't, but what extent has WCBT looked at doing something like that? Member for the tour cards, value for that at any of the restaurants I think we've done, right? But other places.
Right. Like we had mentioned the brew house and stuff like that. That's something that I think as the WCBT we tried to institute. It's just hard to find, I guess, a national chain that's at every city and close to every location. Like in Regina, you're at Golden Mile. Edmonton, you're in Sherwood Park. Calgary, you're right in the danger zone in Paradise. And then like it's hard to find
Danger zone.
a local restaurant that is in every city, that is close to every center. The WCBT probably has a little bit tougher time finding that sponsorship, where I think your A5 or your Calgary 5-pin, your Edmonton 5-pin, those associations probably have a little bit easier time getting a local restaurant to.
You're right. And for me, they're two different ball games altogether. I mean, our WCBT membership is $100 for the year, and that gets you into the tournaments and stuff like that. But you're not going to go out and buy $100 membership to go get a small discount at a restaurant. That's just not the nature of it. You're putting in that $100 because it's a tournament within a tournament, and you're wanting to qualify for things. Whereas a C5, or I guess. One thing that we should stipulate now is that C5 cards are no longer a thing. It's a provincial membership, not a national membership.
Yeah,
correct?
it's A5 or
Right.
Sask 5 card or whatever.
But I mean, you can spend $15 on a membership to get discounts and things. People do that stuff all the time, right? So I think that's a far easier sell. Plus, the numbers are way higher. I mean, WCBT. We're 100 members is ideal. Is something. I mean, we want to grow those numbers, but 100 members is a realistic sort of number with growth, right? But I mean, in Sherwood Park, we have what? How many members, Tim? 500 members from Sherwood Park.
700.
700 members from Sherwood Park alone, right? So,
yeah.
I mean, for corporations looking at those numbers, it makes far more sense for them to kind of go into that direction.
Especially for a local association, that makes a lot more sense, right? You have a local Sherwood Park establishment saying, hey, like Sherwood Bowl has 700 members that could push a discount towards your business. That makes a lot more sense. That's a lot more local. It's
surprisingly easy sell. Like, some of these smaller businesses, you tell them there's potentially 700 customers. Yeah.
Well, yeah.
I mean,
Sherwood Park alone, even just go around to the flower shop or go around to the oil change down from the bowling alley. Hey, we're going to drive business to you guys. Will you offer our members of our association a 5% discount, a 10% discount, right? Mm-hmm. Or how about a 10% discount but a 5% kickback, right? Or something. And, if we can give you $20,000 worth of additional business. Isn't that worth something to you? Yeah.
Yeah.
So now that it's provincial association cards, does it really fall under the provincial association to what they do for their, their members, the value? No longer a C5 thing? Is that what I'm understanding, Tim?
Yeah.
Yeah, correct. Yeah. But you can't go out for corporate sponsor using C5 numbers like Allan was, and do that. And do that.
Can you do it for Alberta? Because I mean,
you can do it for Alberta decks. That's no problem. Like that's
and I totally agree with the way Allan did it too, because those are your potential customers, right? Those are the people you're trying to sell those cards to. So those are the people that'll be coming back in. I totally agree with using those numbers. I have no problem with that. So
is that the catch-22 or whatever they call it? Like you don't have the membership to show it yet. But if I get that sponsorship, then I can get the membership to show that that discount, right?
The chicken and the egg thing.
Yeah, you need to be able to gather that.
We went in with a fat chicken.
And got 2 chickens out of it. It was a great thing.
That's right. That's right.
But Allan, they never even asked to see your numbers. They just took you for your word, right? So
yeah.
Hopefully they're not listening to podcasts, right? So
pretty trustworthy guy.
Well, no, but it doesn't matter now, Tim, because they actually have those numbers now.
Yeah.
Right? So, but the one thing that needs to happen, though, is if A5 or whatever organization does go this route, they need to go back to having those plastic cards to hand out. They need to. You can't be sending out those written out paper garbage cards anymore.
No, they get the plastic cards, okay?
Yep.
Everybody gets a plastic card once. If you lose
you put a sticker on the back.
No, you don't use a sticker anymore. But you get the paper card. You get the paper card. It's just proof of payment. That's all it is.
Yeah, but they need, like, if these corporations are going to be doing this, they need to revamp them, come out with new cards so everybody has them, because those are going to be the cards that they'll go into the business and be like, I get this discount.
Right.
If you lose that, you can't walk in and be like, here's my white piece of paper.
Well,
don't lose your card.
What a lot of businesses were looking for, or not a lot, but there was a few of them, and I see more of them going that way, is a barcode or something on the back of the card, so that they can scan the card. I mean, rather than just showing a card, and it just makes, with the way the cash registers are set up now, if I can scan that card and it automatically takes that 10% off. I mean, the businesses are going to like that. So, yeah, if I was designing or creating new cards, that's the route I'd go. And, yeah, if you wanted to replace it with a piece of paper, as long as that barcode was on the back, it would work, Yeah.
Or an A5 app.
A lot of those POS systems can adapt, like, barcode discounts and stuff like that. So it's simple as the association coming up with that barcode and being able to coordinate that with the local organization's POS and stuff like that. So
we have a really good tech director on our E5 board that can really hammer that out. So
if you think that I can come up and okay, for the record, I was never voted into that position. I was just told that apparently I am tech director for E5. Second, if you think that I'm going to be able to sit down,
how do I get out of here?
You just stop for 1 second. If you think I'm going to sit here and figure out how to do
okay, so I muted. So, anyways, it's all good. Like, no.
I think you actually go and buy a barcode. There's places online to buy them. Yeah. Wouldn't take much work.
But I mean, on the other side, you were a volunteer and did all that work, right, Allan? Isn't it harder, per se, for a volunteer? So is that the responsibility of the volunteer to commit all their time to go to something? Or is it maybe somebody in a paid position or a per diem, or how does that work to compensate somebody or a paid position to go and do all that work, right? I found that was always the gray area.
Yeah, I guess I haven't been involved in the association for that long. For me, I enjoyed doing that sort of stuff, and I certainly had lots of help doing it. So, it didn't take as much time as you would think. a shout out to Valerie. She was with me every step of the way as far as, going down and talking to these, 500 plus bowlers and signing them up. And we literally signed them up, got them to sign like a couple of waivers for different things. And I think for both of us, it's just the enjoyment of the sport and trying to get people involved and trying to keep the sport alive that we both love. And, and again, it wasn't just the two of us either. We had, lots of help from other executive members and that core group that I talked about initially, that 50 plus bowlers or whatever, these guys were all for what we were doing and they helped it with, whatever they could, whatever we asked of them. So yeah, it was a group effort. And again, I mentioned this family atmosphere, we're all pretty tight and we all love the sport. We love the competition, especially the national part of it, getting away and traveling. I mean, I'm 58 years old and I was, 55 before I seen BC. I got as far as Calgary once when I was a kid. Hadn't been to Newfoundland before. So yeah, it's the love of the sport and trying to keep it going. Totally. So as far as a paid position, other provinces where you're dealing, we're dealing with 500 or 600 people across the entire province. If you're saying, that one association has 700 people, well, it may be a little tougher to get that 30 or 40 people to help out from that association. And if you're relying on one or two people, maybe you do have to throw something at them to get them involved.
Yeah, and you need to make sure you find the right person to be in that position too.
Yeah.
There's just some people that just aren't built to do that or uncomfortable with doing that. You definitely have to find the right person to be in that position. Absolutely.
And I'm self-employed too, so I've got a lot more time on my hands than, most people do, or I made time anyway. At that time, I had a business partner, and he likely would have loved to choke me on a few occasions, but hey, bowling takes precedence.
That's right.
The bank hasn't come after me yet, so yeah.
I question sometimes about the, if you tie some goals and expectations to fund development, then that person's actually responsible for doing it. Then there have more of a performance review around the money they're bringing in, right? I deal with a lot of golf tournament fund development coordinators, and their compensation is tied to how much money they're bringing into that charity, right? It's a hard sell sometimes for volunteers to go and do a lot of work, but it's accountability, it's job and expectations. We did that within the E5 here, is that some of the things volunteers, it was hard for volunteers to do. So we brought in a corporate secretary or executive director, or one of what we call assistant. What do we call it then?
Executive secretary.
Right, and it was a paid position to do some of the work that in the old days volunteers were doing, but it was just a struggle. But we had the funds and the development, and it became part of our job to raise the money to make sure that we could pay for it. But that person's job wasn't to raise money; it was just saying that would be something else on the outside. So, anyways, let's keep that conversation going on adding value for members across the association, whatever they may look like. You've done some great stuff there. So, you had mentioned, Allan, about going to BC and Quebec and the different provinces. What was some of your favorite national events that you've gone to?
I think I love them all equally. My biggest complaint about any of the nationals would be my being a cheap ass and not going a few days before or staying a few days after. We had intentions of going to BC like a week earlier, and it just didn't happen. My wife wasn't feeling well, so we canceled that idea. And all of these events I've gone to, it's strictly been bowling and meeting people from across the country, obviously. But yeah, as far as spending time in any of the provinces, I came in the day before, left the day after. Didn't see much of anything. We made a point of renting a van in St. John's and did a little bit of touring around there on the Saturday morning before the step ladder, or before we wanted to get to the step ladder anyway. We weren't bowling that year. In a step ladder, that is. Actually. But yeah, we took a little bit of tour around Newfoundland. Yeah, they've all been equally fun. A lot of laughs at every one of them.
Nice.
Totally.
What now? Here's a question: Is what is the goal for, say, a men's team from PEI? And I don't mean that in disrespect, but in all fairness, I don't believe PEI competes in the step ladder year after year after year. So going in, is that a fair mindset that, hey, we're looking to make top 5, or we're looking to make the step ladder, or does it change for PEI at all going into a national event, knowing that, or not knowing? You know what I'm trying to ask there? I don't want to be disrespectful.
No, I do. And yeah, we go in with the intention of making the step ladder. I mean, you've got to go into a national event with that intent. And, I think it was, oh my gosh, I wish my memory was better, but it was 4 or 5 years ago. And halfway through the first round, what is it, 18 games or 18 games over the 2 days for men's?
I don't even remember.
Anyway, it was either 16 or 18 games. And halfway through, we were sitting in 3rd place. And, we had some great matches that first day and a half. And then we started looking at the friggin' standings.
Oh, no.
And so help me God, within 3 games, we were just, I don't think we got a point, or we might have got 1 or 2 points for the next 3 games. So, we certainly, we go into it with the intention of making the step ladder. And then by the time the 3rd day rolls around, you're not looking very good, and the step ladder is pretty much out of reach unless 2 or 3 teams get involved in a bus accident to the lane or something. But at that point, it's spoiler.
Might happen.
Yeah, at that point it's spoiler, and we have a knack for doing that. The last day, I was looking at some standings today from our last nationals, and we took 7 points off Quebec in the last game, and they were in the run for the step ladder. I think we can beat any team, not consistently, but to get on it, we can get on a run, and we've got to go in with that mindset that the step ladder is a possibility.
You guys have always kind of had the underdog, or you guys have always played where we can't take you guys lightly by any means.
Never.
I've seen it where you guys, especially you have somebody like John Walsh that comes on and all of a sudden he just starts getting hot, or you start getting hot, or somebody else does, or JB, who knows, right? There's some really good shooters, the Shepherds, or you just never know, right? But prime example was 2019, Alberta. We were fortunate enough, we kind of had a little bit of a gap, maybe by a game, maybe by 5 or 6 points. And then all of a sudden, you guys started beating everybody behind us. So you guys really helped us out, right? All of a sudden, you guys beat Quebec and you beat Manitoba, and then you beat somebody else right afterwards. And just out of nowhere, you guys got that big string going, and you guys play spoilers, right? But there's a point. I think winning is contagious, and I think you just need to get that one step ladder in you. And I think that changes things.
Well, yeah, and I think the fact that you guys were sitting in 3rd, as deep into that tournament as you guys was, should be proof enough to you guys that, hey, we can absolutely compete in this. Now
Yeah.
it's like throwing your first 300, right? I got my first 300. Now all of a sudden 300 gets easier, right?
Yeah.
You just have to. Tim's exactly right. That should be proof enough that you can compete with all these guys. You have tons of good shooters. It's just taking that next step and knowing that you guys can do that, and then proceeding into the step ladder, right? Just
Yeah.
maintaining that confidence.
It's funny. Our good friend Ryan O'Callahan messaged us, and he's like, "You got Alan Clark on?" He's like, "I was like, yeah, I got Alan on." He's like, "He was the one who hit the shield and threw a strike against me at Nationals."
He's still complaining about it.
He's still complaining about it 2 years later.
Shield and it didn't pop out.
No. It rattled and went down. I think I threw a 312 against him or something. I had an 884 triple starting that third day, and I was like, yeah, I shit the bed on the last one. Yeah. But anyway.
Ryan just piped in and said it was horse shit.
We do have a couple questions here. Mark Bush from Hamilton, actually, Ontario, mentions, what would a gold medal do for PI like Nova Scotia winning a few years ago do for you guys?
I would hope it's going to get more people involved in our provincial events. A few big heads for a little while, but mostly, get more people involved in the national events, and I don't think it would draw a lot of extra people in. I think those that are going to try out for the nationals are already there. It might get us a little more advertising. We pushed it in the media, and I think that's where we're lacking right now, is we're not getting the media exposure that we should be going after. But yeah, that's I don't know if that answers your question. Just more exposure.
That's a fair comment. Like you said, there's not a huge lot of people in PI that are not playing competitive, right? If you're a good bowler and you're competitive, you're going to be playing. So it's not, like you said, it's not going to increase the amount of people that are going to start playing. Maybe you'll get some people who want to play bowling, but are they going to be super competitive to start with? Maybe not. But sounds like, for you, it's the younger people or the people that are bowling, just keep bowling. The business retention side of it. You need to keep retaining people to keep playing. That's how you're going to get better. And then they keep pushing and keep pushing. If you get the people who drop out, that's when you start to lose the bottom end. So,
yeah, I'd say we've likely got as many people that are competitive bowlers that aren't bowling right now that we'd love to have back. I can think of a number of people that have won gold or have won medals at national events, YBC, that just aren't there anymore, and they could be in the same position that I was in 15 years ago, where they're raising their families and stuff like that. And, whether we see these people come back or not remains to be seen. But yeah, I mean, we could be sending a lot stronger teams to nationals if these people, were participating again. I wouldn't be participating if they were back. So, yeah.
I wonder if, kind of mimicking what Daryl said, I wonder if that would stimulate more youth kids, in YBC already, perhaps, but maybe stimulate them to try to compete and try to get to that level to be on a national team as an adult as well. Maybe it'll stimulate the youth a little bit more than the already existing adult program that's already there.
Yeah, definitely. And right now, we've got two girls. Well, Amy Spence, Sherry Wedge. They're both. I mean, Amy bowled with the adult, tried out for the national event this year. She did really well. And Sherry Wedge coming up, she'll be into our program next year. And her younger brother Trey, the shirt in the background, Hayden Cotton, Keegan McGinnis, his sister Emma. I mean, all these guys and girls are coming up, and I think they're a lot stronger bowlers than half of what we're sending away right now. And they've got these kids looking up to them, and I think that's where the big difference is going to be.
Mhm.
To see these guys doing well.
Sorry, I just have a
Okay.
quick question about this. From being out west, we don't hear a lot about it, but is there an Atlantic rivalry, like between Newfoundland, Nova Scotia, and PEI? When I was involved in baseball, that was kind of the main driver. You had these, I guess, more local competitions to drive competition between certain rivalries, and then that kind of boosted the competition to play in the further higher levels. I'm just wondering if the Atlantics even tries some stuff like that. I know travel's not very easy between those three provinces, so I didn't know if there was something like that out there. Or...
There used to be an Atlantic tournament, and it was a huge success years ago, and it fizzled off. And again, I think a lot of the older bowlers aged out. Just it died off. They tried to revive it. My first 2013 was the last year of the Atlantics, and they held it in Summerside. I participated in that, and I mean, I think it was maybe 10 teams or something like that. But it used to be, a huge event years ago. We're trying to do something now. I've been in talks with Rodnitz in New Brunswick and Katrina in Nova Scotia, and trying to do. Rod started something actually in New Brunswick 3 years ago in Gagetown, where he opened it up to anybody in New Brunswick and Nova Scotia. Well, anybody at all. Newfoundland wasn't going to come over. There's just not enough money or people involved. But it was a huge success. And after that, I had talked to Katrina and talked to Rod, and we thought maybe we'd do an event in PEI, one in Nova Scotia and one in New Brunswick. COVID hits and puts an end to that. And now I just recently we got some money from the province for COVID funding, so we're able to offset our lineage for some of our events, and they decided to run an Atlantic or a maritime event, so between Nova Scotia and New Brunswick. And I had people lined up to come over and participate in this, and we were supposed to have this Atlantic bubble that was going to go into effect on April 19th, where you could travel freely between those three provinces. And right. It crapped out here in the last few days. Oh. So they're talking May 3rd right now. We're scheduled to run this event on May 8th. Hopefully the bubble opens and we get that participation. Nova Scotia's run a few events over the years. We'd go over, I think we'd send about 3 carloads over. And same thing out of New Brunswick. So yeah, I mean, cash tournaments, but nice to get together with these people, and it's a lot of fun. So we're hoping to do something between the three provinces, and then there'd been talk about the Masters Association and getting involved in that, and we're going to use this like tour type of thing as qualifying. This call.
Yeah, that's right. There's a Newfoundland tour, or is there more?
There is a Newfoundland tour, and I don't know. I mean, JB has gone over on a few occasions. Outside of JB, there was a couple of other bowlers that used to, or maybe that was the Atlantics that they were going to. I don't know if this JB would have to answer that one. I don't know if we've got anybody else. I don't think there's anybody else in PEI going over, but as far as Nova Scotia and New Brunswick, none that stand out unless Freddie's gone over.
Freddie, where's Freddie at these days?
Freddie, taking his money in her fantasy baseball right now.
Yeah, so where's Freddie's supposed to come over here on May the 8th.
Yeah, Halifax.
Yeah. And he's moving over to PEI?
He's supposed to come over for this event if this.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds like a good idea, is that bubble. I mean, again, kudos to you, Allan, for thinking outside the bubble and doing something different, right? So good on you. Let's go to Valerie's comment, and then we'll go to Tom. He's quite curious to know the roadblocks to making the step ladder, so we'll get there. But gotta love Valerie's comment here about a gold medal boost would boost confidence of our bowlers and show them what capable. And you're right, 100%. And then drive you even harder to win again. Plus, the celebrations would be amazing. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Hi, Valerie. Good to see you. Thanks for tripping in.
Yeah, for those who don't know, Val is an amazing person who does a ton of work out there for PEI as well. She's also been hand in hand with working with Masters to make that Atlantics team, which I think is fantastic. I really hope that does go through. I think it's a shame that it wasn't allowed for as many years as it was, and I'm really glad that you guys may have the opportunity if you guys choose to do so in that. So thank you, Val, for all the things that you do as well.
Yeah, Valerie's been my vice president since I started
Awesome.
on this road with the 5-Pin Association, and certainly couldn't have done half of what I've done without her.
Yeah, you guys are a good team.
I met her when I did the IP, 10, 12 years ago, and then some of those IP events, and some of then obviously into the open events too. So. But let's chat about, you had mentioned obviously the PEI team, and on day 3, you were in a position of the step ladder, then it faltered away. To Tom's question, what are some of the roadblocks that prevented the team from getting there? You had mentioned you started looking at the scoreboard watching, so there's a big roadblock. Anything else that comes to mind, Allan?
I think, I don't know how to put it without offending anybody. If one or two of us get in a shit mood, it rubs off on the rest pretty quick, and it can crap out pretty quick. And
right.
That can happen in day 1. It could happen in day 3. And I'm far from perfect. I mean, the last trip to Gatineau, I think, it was just atrocious, and I'm sure I brought the team down like the first day, and it was a shit show. So just getting control of our emotions, I think, is a big factor, and we're all guilty of it.
Yep.
Get out there and throw a big game and get pounded with a 1500 or something, that'll knock you back a step. And there's a few factors, I guess, and likely a lot of inexperience too. I mean, you guys go through a lot more of a process to get to that national event. You've worked with your team, going through whether it's a local and then a zone and then a provincial, and before you see the national, so you bowl together a lot longer. I mean, we bowl together on a weekly basis, or most of us do, but you're bowling for yourself. You're not bowling with a team. So maybe it's that team component that we're missing, because we come from, could be upwards of an hour to an hour and a half away from each other to try to get together on a regular basis prior to a national event is difficult, with work schedules and everything else. So maybe that's the biggest factor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you're right. I mean, we do have the opportunity to play in a lot more events, Masters, WCBT, a lot of league bowling, match play leagues, competitive bowling is a lot more. So it's definitely a fair comment in experience.
Yeah, and it's a completely different pressure playing on a team too, right? I mean, there's a pressure playing for singles, but there's definitely a different pressure when you're on a team, because you don't want to let down other people on your team, as you talked about earlier. So I always found that I get way more stressed out and way more nervous for team events than I ever will for a singles event.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to let your team down. You don't want to affect the mojo of the other guys.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's a different pressure. I don't know. I don't know how to explain it properly. I just it's a different pressure out here. Playing on a team, I guess. It just feels like sometimes it's not as sometimes it's not fun in a way, I think, as some other times. Just because I think there's more added pressure. I don't know. Like I don't know how to explain it properly. Like without getting like the wrong vibe out of there. But it's just that we're just expected to go there and be businesslike, and we're not supposed to have as much fun as like we should. I think
You're saying we have expectations.
Yeah,
and
I
you're
don't.
expected to be in the step ladder. Yeah.
I got it out in one word.
Right, but you get my point though. I mean, like we go there, and sometimes it feels like we don't have as much fun, I think, than the rest of the provinces. Some other provinces do, just because we're expected to go and it's more of a business-like thing. I feel like
I think you put too much pressure on yourself. I've never felt that going to Masters Nationals or Open Nationals. It's all the pressure you put on yourself. Everybody's there to win.
Mm-hmm.
And they're clearly all competitive teams, or else they wouldn't be there, right? If you weren't competitive, you weren't having fun, those teams wouldn't be coming back. So I think it shows a lot. Tim, obviously, if you feel that pressure, you put a lot of pressure on yourself to be that player.
Yeah,
it's how you address it yourself, I think, is the biggest issue, right?
But I agree, though, with Tim, that, I mean, there is a certain stature and certain expectation that Alberta should be in there no matter what, right? Ontario's probably similar. BC might be similar just because of the size, But you're right, Kerry. Any team across the country can win. We've even seen that. Nova Scotia, the Newfoundlands, these guys, anybody can compete. But the biggest roadblocks would be the mental fatigue and then the physical fatigue after a couple of days of long days and competing, and then letting it get to you. And now I'm physically tired, and I'm not, poor nutrition likely. Late nights. There's probably the key ones are the standards. Fatigue, right? Just get tired. Biggest roadblock. And team dynamic, right? Like you said, Allan, to begin with, was if you get a bitchy guy on a sidelines, he brings the whole team down.
Yeah.
Right. That's a big one. Team dynamic is definitely a big one. So.
Yeah. We play with Weber, so.
How about some of the other events now? See my noise, guys? Is that a different noise you got?
Yeah. Yeah.
You're welcome. Allan, you mentioned earlier about some of the other events and side things you enjoy doing outside of bowling. Can you share what those might be? Like the Cavendish Festival. That type of
Yeah, as far as fundraising opportunities and stuff like that. I mean, that's what the Cavendish Beach thing was. That was a fundraising opportunity. It's a huge music festival they've run here for a number of years on the island. And one of my fellow bowlers, a lady, Ernie Arnold, she had a connection with the Cavendish Beach Music Festival. She had a bunch of softball bowlers, and they were raising funds to go away to an international competition in New Zealand. So they had done this for about 3 years, raised an awful lot of money, and once the trip was over, they no longer needed that revenue source. So she approached me, and I discussed it with the Five Pin Association, and yeah, we were given the opportunity to go out there and volunteer. And basically what they did was they offered us meal tokens plus $10 an hour to work this event. And I forget how many shifts it was now, but it was a considerable number, and it's only gone up since then. So what we've done is we've used it for a fundraiser for the Five Pin Association. If you're a bowler and you want to go out and volunteer, any hours that you work, comes off whatever your assessment is to attend a national event. And our bowlers pay 100% of the shot, just because we don't have the numbers to generate that money through a provincial event or whatever.
Totally.
So it's been a big boost to bowlers that want to go out and do that sort of stuff. And we've got an awful lot of people that just want to go out and listen to a weekend of great country music, and we get international stars there. I don't know, Blake Shelton was there last year. The last year it ran. We've had some big stars show up. So yeah, people are itching to volunteer because they get a free gate pass basically. So that's raised a lot of money for us over the last few years. We've done golf tournaments. We've done, I'm sure you guys have had them out there, the color run.
Oh yeah. Yeah, like Color Me Rad or
yeah.
Yeah.
Different events, but yeah, a lot of fundraising.
Could you imagine us running a Color Me Rad out here for bowlers? It would have to be like a 500-meter Color Me Rad.
What type of golf tournament do you run, Allan?
It was, and we stopped running it after 10 years. I'm a bit of a control freak and take on too much stuff, and I was relying on a lot of sponsorship from a lot of my customers, and I just got tired of going back to them year after year, and I'm sure they get tired of looking at me year after year. But yeah, we started this thing off. I think I paid for insurance for 6 people to shoot for $1 million, and it wasn't an annuity either. So like half what we raised in what should have gone to a charity, we're paying it for people to shoot for $1 million. I had a good working relationship with a lot of dealerships on the island, so we had a car, an ATV, a Harley Davidson, like just crazy the prizes. But we're still able to raise a few $1,000s. Anyway, after a 10-year run, talked to a few people that ran similar tournaments, and it was just, it had run its course. We're thinking about maybe doing something with the 5-Pin Association. Depending on what happens with Cavendish, we've got to come up with something else. I'm sure we'd get lots of support, but it's a hell of a lot more work to organize a golf tournament than it is to show up at a concert and, scan somebody's ticket as they're coming in the door. It's a no-brainer. Whereas, if you got to, round up 30 teams and get sponsorship for every hole, and it's just, it's months worth of work. Yeah.
Yeah, and then what about your world-renowned bowling pins that you were fundraising?
Tattoo one?
Yeah.
Yeah, I missed out on 2 of them. I was trying for 2 of them, and I didn't get either of them.
I don't know how that really come about. I think Valerie had seen some pins on Pinterest, and 2 of us got talking about it. But anyway, we decided to go out and approach the tattoo shops across the island and told them it was a fundraiser for Special Olympics. Anything that we raised through the sale of these pins would go to Special Olympics PEI. And I don't know, we had 8 or 9 artists that signed on for it. We bought pins from a center in Ontario or a private seller in Ontario. I can't remember how they come in. Valerie let me spend a month sanding these pins and cleaning them up and getting them ready to take to the tattoo shops. Anyway, we left the pins with them for about 6 weeks. We did a contest online where people could vote for their favorite pin. We awarded the tattoo shop with the most votes with a plaque and a thank you. And the closing night for the IP that we hosted in 2017, I think, we auctioned them off. Well, we had the auction running for a little bit. I can't remember how long it was, but it closed off that night, and I'm thinking we might have raised a couple of $1,000. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Sounds like we need to get out there for a golf tournament, eh? Maybe play some Cabot Links.
You're in the wrong province.
I was trying to be all smart,
Crowbrush. Yeah, it was ranked in the top 10 in Canada until Cabot came along. But there's some beautiful courses across the island. Like I think there's somewhere in the vicinity of 25 or something like that. And out of that, there's likely about 15 that are absolutely amazing.
Sounds like a 5-pin U trip out there.
Yeah, out there. Buy some merchandise, people.
I think TSN did a piece on PEI there, and they ran it for like 3 months straight on their sports channel, showing all the golf courses and stuff like that. That was pretty neat.
Yeah, I think Vijay Singh was here at the time. He participated in it, there was an event. Yeah, I know that was a different show, but yeah, there was at one time. Yeah, he was here. I can't remember who else it was. They did Pro Bush, but yeah, it's that was my last round last year. Actually, was Crow Bush. I pulled a tendon in my arm, and yeah, it was absolute torture in the arm, but a beautiful day, and yeah, amazing course.
How is the weather out on PEI, Allan? Like, is it, I guess, does it get fairly cold, like Newfoundland, kind of lots of snow, or is it more temperate weather throughout the winter?
Yeah, we get it a lot easier than Newfoundland does for sure. I mean, it's hit and miss here. You just from one year to the next, you don't know. You know, it wasn't 6 or 7 years ago. It was 25-foot snow drifts, and this year I don't think we've seen a 3-foot one.
Yeah.
You know, summers are pretty decent. I mean, the weather's coming around right now. It's +8, and it's. Yeah, you could have a long wet summer, or you could have a long dry summer. Usually, it's pretty good. Yeah, it's if you're coming for a visit, the summer is the time to come.
Noted 5-pin universe.
Yeah.
What's that, Daryl?
I said noted 5-pin universe will come in the summer.
Yeah.
Let's spend a bit of time on your involvement with C5 again, Allan, and helping create the Hall of Fame. I know that was a big undertaking, and obviously we've seen a couple of classes inducted. Tell us about your work done on that committee and that crew.
I mean, as sitting on as first vice, I mean, that was tasked to me, but it was certainly a group effort. I mean, yeah, I certainly can't take any credit for it, other than having worked with the other provinces or those that sat on that committee. Yeah, it was a great experience. I mean, I hadn't been involved in the C5 for a long time at that point, so that initial induction, other than I think it was Natalie, Danielle, and Sheila, all I was relying on were the submissions that were made, and hearing from people around the room about all these other bowlers. Yeah, it was a great experience, but yeah, I certainly couldn't take credit for it. It was a C5 decision, and I was just sitting as head of that committee, but the vast majority of the work was done by the people that knew these bowlers, and I was relying on their input.
It seems like a really fun, rewarding, interesting undertaking to take on. Really, I don't know. Tim's absolutely loved every second of it.
Yes.
Welcome back. He's loved every second of it. It's been awesome, but I mean, just to learn the history of the game and history of people and stuff, and man, like Tim, it's nonstop at work. I mean, we don't have work, but it's been nonstop with Tim at work for months, just going through the history of people and whatnot, and it's I think it's a really important work, Allan. I really do, because that's something that we really need to maintain in our in our sport, because numbers keep going down, but the one thing that we need to make sure happens is we remember where we came from in the history, and how many quality players and people you can look back at and relate to, and it's
absolutely
important.
Like, I mean, Tim would certainly know a lot more of these bowlers than I did, and as most in the room would. I mean, I never seen a national event at that point. It was only 7 years that I'd actually gone to a nationals or heard of any of these people. Never had the opportunity to actually see these people until the night of the closing ceremonies yeah, so nice to put a face to a name and to a history of their bowling careers, and it was interesting and a lot of fun.
I think it's a good thing in a way too. I mean, it's nice that you got to meet them, but it's great as a new contributor in that aspect to be part of something. It was a very unbiased situation you're part of because you don't know anybody, so you're just following the numbers, you're following the bios that were given to you, and so it was kind of from a clean slate, right? So it's pretty cool. Getting to put names to faces. You got to meet Karen. You got to meet Dialis. You got to meet all those other people that you heard about maybe that you never got to see before that actually were there, right? So it's a really neat process. I got the back end of it when I first started going there, and you were one of the first people that were there because your elected position to create it, and I think it's a really good spot where we're at with it. So, I hope it still continues, and I think it will. And getting the right people in the right spots in the right categories, I think it's the right thing to be doing right now.
Yeah, it was absolutely long overdue. Yeah.
Yeah, totally agree.
Is there a requirement to induct every year and a number of inductees, or how does that go?
No, there's not. It's based on submissions, and then goes to a committee to decide, based on a point system, whether there's enough points or information to induct people. But yeah, there's no minimum requirement. There's a maximum. I think it's 1, 1, and 3. Correct me if I'm wrong, Tim.
Yes, you can only have 1, 1, and 3 in there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Three players, one coach, and one builder.
Yeah.
You can No, I think it's 2 builders. Sorry, 2 builders and 1 coach. Yeah, but you can.
And the criteria is on the website somewhere on C5 website of what those point system is. The public.
I don't believe it's on the website. The provinces are given the information to take back to their committees that would be submitting on behalf of,
Yeah. So if you're ever looking for information, Daryl, I'm your guy.
There you go, bud. Yeah. It'll just be interesting to see what different associations. I know there's a few different Hall of Fames out there, right? And what are the different criterias from the various ones that there are, right? Yeah. Just like E5, we have a lifetime member. What is lifetime different than a Hall of Fame? I'm sure, but what are those differences?
Yeah, your bowlers are going to be, more of a point-based thing than your builders and your coaches. That's going to come down to basically, who's got the biggest resume type of thing.
Is there an opportunity for an IP bowler to be into the Hall of Fame?
I don't think right now.
No.
You know what I mean?
Right
like
now.
You were a, year after year after year IP bowler, and you've been to provincials or nationals 5-6 times. So I guess you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But you're a 180 bowler, but you maybe gone from 170 to 180 to 190 in your progression, but you still continue to succeed.
Yeah.
Right?
No.
It's a Canadian 5-pin Hall of Fame. It's not
coaching, yes, because coaching's all for all based off medals. But Dexter and I had a debate about this because
we had it this week.
Because I brought it up and I was like, yeah, why isn't there a POA? I just for like devil's advocate, and then he brought up a point.
Well, yeah, to me, any Hall of Fame is designed to be the highest level of the game, right? You don't see the Hockey Hall of Fame induct somebody who is the greatest, bruiser of the game. You don't have those sort of things. But I don't know. In my personal opinion, a Hall of Fame should be for the highest level, the elite level sort of thing. POA, as much as what they do is commendable and takes a lot of work and it's a lot of improvement that goes into their game and whatnot, I don't think that throwing over your average on a consistent basis should be something that should be included into the Hall of Fame. And plus, not only that, as a POA bowler, to make Masters, Nationals, and POA or any sort of thing, that's to do it on a consistent basis, it just isn't there. So I don't think that they would even really qualify it the same way, because if you're at the highest level of the game, you may qualify for Nationals on a regular basis. Whereas I don't even know if they'd come up with enough numbers to qualify on the POA side, because if your average goes up, and then the next year is harder to make it. You know, I don't know.
How about a Hall of Fame Youth Challenge career? What if you have a bowler who just played in their teenage years and they crushed the Youth Challenge 7 years in a row, and was a doctor and didn't have any time to bowl as an adult anymore?
Yeah, same scenario. I mean, I don't know if you're talking like just one.
I don't know. I'm just asking questions.
I think the same scenario as the IP. You're not going to get that repeat attendance.
Yeah. Here's a joke. I mean, you have Tyler Titgat, and his brother Brad, who have dominated the YBC Nationals, right? Having been to 8 or 9 Nationals in a row. What if both of them decided to quit bowling and they're done? Shouldn't they be recognized for their unbelievably outstanding youth career?
They should. Right now, they're not a C5 member, or at that time they weren't a C5 member, right?
Well, you challenge.
Yeah.
But here's your devil's advocate here. Okay, you can write a resume up based off of their information, and you can submit it to your province, and your province can submit it to Nationals, and it can go to a committee, and in that committee, and they can still elect them in. So that if they have a fantastic resume, somebody say, Tyler was the best youth challenge bowler we've ever had, and he was included, that would be in there. So,
I don't know. I mean, I think youth could have its own personal YBC, but I don't know, because for example, I mean, look again, Hockey Hall of Fame. Here's Nail Yakupov, who was first overall pick, and he was great in his youth, but he was absolute trash as adults. And right. So is that something that should be in the Hockey Hall of Fame, even though he,
I don't think
they're old enough.
I don't think there should be a youth component. I don't think there should be a youth component in a Hall of Fame. CHL doesn't have a one, like WHL doesn't have one.
I do.
Right.
I think so. I think there should be some recognition across the youth, whether it's Youth Challenge or YBC. A couple comments in there that have outstanding YBC careers. I mean, that's a Bowl Canada is YBC, but Youth Challenge is C5, so it's something different. And I see that there's scholarships and there's that stuff being awarded. But it'd be cool to go back into the history and to see somebody who won 4 national championships, YBC or Youth Challenge in a row. Anyways, maybe it's a different place than that to go. But
the other thing is, when Don Sim's talking about Norm Shannis, for example, obtained points for a Hall of Fame induction. Alan can attest with this as well. The point system is based off of whatever the points we got before the Western Canadians. But if somebody like a Fraser Hamley and those other ones were bowled beforehand, you can still build the resume and you can send it in. So somebody like a Norm Shannis has a hell of a resume, you can still send it in, and it still can be approved and get in there. We just don't have the stats from it, unless somebody like Don Sim wants to send them forward. We would be kindly able to take those off your hands. Yeah.
So I guess part of the end wrap this conversation is we need to know what that criteria is, and if that means it's individual provinces to get that criteria, and it flows through that way. Reach out to your provincial associations. If you want to reach out to 5-Pin Universe, we'll figure it out and try to get that info. But I know even, cash-sided circuits. How do you develop a Hall of Fame for cash tournaments? Has that ever been considered? The Hall of Fame for KG Invitational tournaments 40 years in a row. Who is the person that won the Hall of Fame? Anyways, there's it opens up many different avenues of Hall of Fame, right?
Stop giving away our secrets, Daryl. That's already in the works.
There you go. It's neat to recognize the different people who have contributed at different points in time. So that's why I ask about the POA and I ask about the youth and now obviously the C5. Maybe we don't always have to do it the same way that everybody else does it. So.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So we're closing in on that grand old 2-hour mark. Allan, is there any final words you wanna give us before we kind of wrap this thing up? I kind of just want to say, obviously, this whole podcast has spoken more than just words of what you've done for the sport, especially in the PEI and across Canada. You've had a lot of I can't even think of the word for it. In just a little amount of time you've been involved. You're definitely an amazing person that's helped out everybody. And Tim's spoken nothing but kind words about you over the years. So we appreciate everything you do.
Yeah. Don't have a lot to say. I mean, I appreciate the kind words. I've gotten to know Tim a bit over the few years involved in the C5. As much as it would be nice to take credit for everything that's been done here, as I've said earlier, it's, we're a small group. It's a family, and I think without the people around me, I mean, none of this would have been possible. A lot of support from the bowling community here, and without that support, we'd be sitting where we were 7 years ago.
Perfect.
Every great leader has a crew behind him, right? So give yourself some credit, because I know it sounds like that's tough for you, but to take some credit, because you obviously did a great job rejuvenating it, and yes, you had a great team, but it was definitely a big part of yourself too. So allow yourself some credit.
Thanks, Dexter.
Yeah, super glad you came on. Thanks, Allan. I think there's lots of conversations that I learned from this, and I look forward to chatting further and learning more about some of the work that you've done in the past and going forward. So good on you. Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah, thanks, Allan. Obviously, it took me 80 podcasts to get you on, so I'm glad you finally came on. Glad you finally don't have dial up, and I'm glad you didn't bring your Russian friend with you. So, and you have your wallet, so I mean that's always a bonus too. So,
yeah, you weren't going to mention that.
Say hi to everybody in PEI for sure.
Yeah. Thank you, Allan.
Okay, guys.
Thanks, buddy.
Good night.
Awesome guest.
No, he's awesome, dude.
And done a lot of work with the associations and the volunteering and the fundraising and the Hall of Fames and stuff. I mean, very, very good guest and learned a lot for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. He's got lots of insight and a lot of ideas that, again, a lot of provinces should absolutely look at. That's a great way of building a game that's outside of our usual realm of doing things.
It's sure interesting, the conversation when we start talking about Halls of Fame, right? Probably been this debate for many years, and some of the comments I see Kevin Jepson about saying that's why it's a C5 PBA Hall of Fame and not the Canadian 5-pin bowling. It's an association. The C5 is the association where the open. And again, that's where I want to see the criteria. And what is the criteria for each province? Is it just the open events that you've qualified for that you're in? Because then, it's the Bowlers Association. Is it the WCBT we talk about, the Hall of Fame, the Ontario Hall of Fame, those types of things. But it's an interesting issue to talk and trying to recognize bowlers as a whole, but different associations.
To be honest with you, I'm just gonna go. I've always been pretty straightforward about most things. It kind of annoys me to hear opinions like that on it's a C5 one. I've repeatedly said myself on this podcast that if you put your resume in, on the resume it says Masters, it says cash tournaments, it says everything else on there. It says Western Canadian. So if you listen to what I say, it says right on there, it says you can include it. Jennifer Smith or Marshall did not have enough points to get inducted right away, but we built up her masters in order for her to get in there because she deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. So somebody like Norm Chanis or anybody else like that, your province or somebody else's province that maybe doesn't have a bowler that's maybe not worthy enough, needs to put those people in, right? And awesome. I wholeheartedly say that.
Well said. So anybody can get in. So build your credentials. We'll submit your thing, and it takes a look. Well done.
I think that's something like Tim, like you continuously say that, but you're just one person from the A5 in Alberta, right? Where are these other provinces? Have they made this information available to their membership to let them know that is the situation? It's not just cut and dry one single thing, right?
No.
And so therefore I guess I don't disagree with the people commenting that, right?
But I just said it, right? I said it not even like 5 minutes before that, right? So, but I'm not here. Yeah, I agree with you on that. The associations need to be more honest. But if you have anybody has questions about the Hall of Fame, I am more than happy to share those information because we are not here to hide anything. The Hall of Fame is a much better situation than it is, and I'm glad that it's opened up to how people can do it properly. Yeah.
Well, good conversation on that. That's well done. Who's coming up in the next show, Tim?
Next one is Ron Sandus from Trail BC. Super excited about Ron.
Big Ron's, Daddy.
Yeah, Big 47 years. Proprietor, and found out he was part of the small ball championship in the Philippines. So that'll be a good conversation. And then the following the following week after that is Don Betts from the Ontario 5 or Ontario, and now he's living in Nova Scotia, I believe. So excited to have Don Betts on there.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Which draw are we going to do first, Dex?
This one is going to be the All-Star one, so this is for everybody who's commented. I've decided that we are going to randomize this 4 times for the number of times Jeff Canham asked about hats and the number of times Tom Patterson asked about the 4 roadblocks. So 4 seems to be the magic number for today. So
I like it.
All right, so everybody's name is in here. Let's see how this goes. 1,
Hendrickson.
2, 3,
Jason again,
and Jennifer Haas.
Nice.
There we are.
Yeah. Jeff Cannon, I will wear a hat when you buy one for me. You might want to buy some for yourself. You can hide that lid of yours and buy one for me, and I'll wear a hat next week, bud.
Okay, now we will go back and we will do the 5-pin U one. So this is for, we had, how many people? 9 people. 9 people with their name in there. Okay.
I'm surprised that there's only 9 people that have actually hosted a tournament across the country, though.
Well, it pays to be watching. I'm sure there's way more, but it pays to be watching. How many times should we randomize this one, guys?
Let's do 4 again.
4 again. All right, here we go. 1, 2, 3.
Not Jeff.
And Tyson Nelson.
There you go.
What tournament was he?
I can't even remember. And it won't show comments that high up, but oh, it might. I can't remember.
So Jen and Tyson.
Oh, a YBC match play tournament back in the day, which sounds actually like a really good idea. There we are.
Okay, so we're ignoring the World Bowling Championships.
Is that the
Shit, I apologize, Len. I don't know how I happen to miss your name on that.
Oh, Len.
Get out of here. What a
Oh,
guy.
We might have to send Lenny something.
No, that guy needs a hat.
That's
Like,
true.
that's not a want. That is an absolute need.
We'll figure out something for Len. Maybe we'll do something for him later. Thanks everybody for competing, putting your stuff in the chat there. Once again, we thank All Star Bowling Sales for being our weekly sponsor and donating something every week here for the last 5 weeks, and we'll hopefully continue this going on. And what else? Do you guys have anything else to share before we end this podcast?
Oh, good show. We started off on the rails. I think we ain't pulled her back together, their team.
We could thank Allan for that, really.
Yeah, exactly.
that wasn't our own doing.
I did see in his bio he talked about being in charge of the governance at C5, and that would have been a really good conversation for me, but I don't think it would have been fun for a lot of people. I love the idea of governance, and it's rather boring topic, so I think we saved everybody.
Sorry,
right.
Jeff. I'm sorry. I don't know which one I missed you in, but I apologize. I don't know. It's hard to keep track.
It's a rough day on the podcast. Oh,
Try again next week.
Again.
Ding.
Here you go, guys. Yeah.
All right. See you guys next week.
Thanks, everybody. Oh, wow.